Stack Bundles, an emerging rapper from Far Rockaway, Queens, was on trend to becoming a hip-hop superstar. With a melodic, charismatic flow, sense of style, and a larger-than-life personality, Stack Bundles built a cult-like following. He dropped mixtapes, was featured on albums, and was also a ghostwriter. Unfortunately, one early morning in June of 2007, the rising star was fatally gunned down. In this episode, we'll remember Stack Bundles' life, his rise in hip-hop, and examine his last hours in the physical form. But before we get into that, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's the Crime Street Journal. Stack Bundles was born Raekwon Elliott on October 21st, 1982, to Yvette and Raymond Elliott. Along with his siblings, Stack grew up in the Red Fern Houses, a New York City housing projects in the heart of Far Rockaway, Queens. To understand Stack better, let's really examine where he's from, Far Rockaway. The name says it all. It's far away from most of New York. Located at the bottom eastern part of New York City on a peninsula with a sandy beach shoreline. Far Rock is surrounded by Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. And because of its land shape, travel to and from the area is limited compared to other parts of New York City. Many people from Far Rock feel separated from and don't really rep Queens as a whole. The people in the area refer to Far Rock as the Sixth Borough. Far Rock is one of the most dangerous areas in New York. Stack grew up rooted in music and performing. His mom was in a rap group called Soul Control under the rap name Classy E. His dad, Ray C, was a respected guy in Far Rock. His street name was Stack a Dollar. So when young Raekwon started rapping, he used his father's name, switched it, and added the bundles. Before the music, Stack's first love was dancing. He was a member of a dance group called True Players. The group was successful winning citywide competitions, danced in music videos for Busta Rhymes and 702, and they also performed live on an episode of Showtime at the Apollo, hosted by Steve Harvey.
What's your name, bro? Raekwon.
Stack began rapping in his teens after he was kicked out of Far Rockaway High School for beating up a security guard. Because of that altercation, Stack was sent to August Martin High School in South Jamaica. At August Martin, many of the students that Stack chilled with were aspiring rappers, and in due time, Stack was inspired and began to pursue rap music. In 1999, he joined a group called Grits along with Brooklyn rapper Sky Zoo, and he began to hone his skills. After Stack graduated high school, he enrolled in college. While in school, Stack would hang out at New York City's radio station Hot 97. He would wait in front of the building. Then one day he met Funk Master Flex. And after a few more encounters, Flex gave him a number to a rep at Epic. Like the same Hot 97 strategy, Stack would visit the label's office often, and because of his personality, was able to build great relationships. Eventually, he befriended Chicago rapper Lupe Fiasco. And in 2001, when Lupe started First and 15 Productions, he asked Stack to sign to his label and come move to Chicago. Still a teenager, Stack and his dad flew to Chicago together to meet with Lupe and then manager Charles Big Chill Patton, who later, in 2007, was sentenced to 44 years in prison on drug charges. While in Chicago, Stack began building relationships with now legendary producers like Bugs and Kanye West. A few more weeks passed, and Stack decided to sign a contract with First and 15th. When his father discovered that Stack signed the contract, he flew back to Chicago and negotiated the termination of that contract immediately. and him and Stack flew back East Coast to Far Rockaway. Now back in Far Rock, Stack was introduced to Mike Doc, who would eventually become his manager, though never officially signed under Mike Doc's management company, Who's Next Entertainment. Stack would eventually form the Riot Squad with Bino, Cost 2 Gs, and God Bless the Dead, Chinks Drugs. Stack recorded a guest feature on 2 songs that, without anyone's knowledge, was added to a rapper's demo and was being shopped to labels. Stack's verse stood out, and it eventually landed him the deal with DJ Clue's Desert Storm Records. Stack released several mixtapes with DJ Clue under Desert Storm for a little over a year until his contract eventually expired. Now a free agent, Stack and his team took meetings with label execs, including Jay-Z and Rockefeller, but no one would sign him. In 2005, Jim Jones became the director of A&R for the Warner Music Group. Stack's manager, Mike Doc, knew Stack would be a great fit with Jim Jones, and despite knowing Stack didn't really like Jim much at the time, he still made arrangements and scheduled a meeting with Jim Jones without Stack's knowledge. Frustrated by the rejections from the meetings and his feelings toward Jim Jones, at the time, Mike Doc kept everything a secret up until they entered the building. Mike Doc recalls it was the best meeting they ever had. There was no convincing. Jim already was aware of Stack's talent and wanted him to be down with the team. They also cleared up their misunderstanding. When Jim Jones would always see Stack, he was always wearing all blue. So Jim always assumed that Stack was a Crip, and that's why their energy always was kind of weird. And the weird energy Stack picked up on became water under the bridge, and the two became close quickly. Stack joined Bird Gang along with Max B, Mel Matrix, and others, but Stack never signed an official contract with Jim Jones or the Bird Gang. Stack was featured and released solo songs on different Bird Gang compilation mixtapes. In 2006, Jim Jones released his 3rd solo album, Hustler's Poem, where Stack was featured on the song Weatherman. The first single, We Fly High, made it to number 5 on the Billboard Top 100, and the song also became the anthem for the New York Giants Super Bowl 41 run in 2007. The song We Fly High is surrounded in controversy, with Max B claiming he wrote the song. And then there's people close to Stack claiming that Stack is the one who actually wrote the song. But Jim Jones continues to say that he wrote the song by himself with the help of no one, and he is the only writer credited on the song. The album placed Stack and the Bird Gang on a large tour, the Street Dreams Tour, with acts like Young Jeezy, Lil Wayne, and Young Money. And Stack was only getting closer to realizing his dream of being a hip-hop superstar.
Nothing changed, them shot calling like I'm supposed to be. Balling like I'm supposed to be, us falling like she supposed to be. Buying something bad, bagging like grocery. Lifestyles like Six Flags, I'm rolling ghostly. Pockets full of kitty, these niggas ain't getting money like ours. I make it rain on them, they throwing scattered showers. What? I'm the motherfucking weatherman. Tornado money, can't fit it in a rubber.
June 10, 2007. On Stack's last night alive, according to some accounts, Stack was at Quad Studios at West 48th Street in Manhattan near Times Square. This is the same infamous Quad Studios where Tupac was shot, igniting the infamous beef between Tupac and Biggie. After Quad Studios, Stack Bundles headed to Stereo nightclub in Manhattan on West 29th and 10th Avenue, where he performed there and partied till about 4 a.m. He ended up leaving with a friend, Wanique Washington, heading back to Far Rockaway. When they got to Far Rock, the first stop was at a White Castle on Beach Channel Drive. And then from there, they headed to the Redfern Projects. According to Wanique, he left Stack in front of his building and walked a short distance to his own home when he heard shots and ran back to find Stack shot in the head and neck in the Redfern lobby at 1460 Beach Channel Drive, the White Castle bag still in his hand. Stack was rushed to the trauma center at Jamaica Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. Police say the shooter took his gold chain with the black skull, but left cash and credit cards. A police source stated that they believed that it was an ambush and that Stack Bundles was the intended target. A pair of .45 caliber shell casings were found at the scene. June 18, 2007, hundreds of people, family, friends, hip-hop celebrities, and fans paid their respects to Stack Bundles at the J. Foster Phillips Funeral Home in Queens. In the casket, Stack wore a red t-shirt, sunglasses, and jeans, and outside, R.I.P. Stack Bundles tees with his picture on it. Stack was finally laid to rest at the Pine Lawn Memorial Park in East Farmingdale, New York. There's a lot of mystery, speculation, and suspects surrounding the Stack Bundles murder. Charles White, an aspiring rapper from Virginia, was a suspect detectives were seeking in connection with Stack Bundles' murder, but Charles was shot and killed. Charles White left to Virginia the day Stack Bundles was murdered and returned to Queens on June 18th. A friend, Kevin Brown, reported he left Charles that day in a vacant home in the Springfield Garden sections of Queens, where later, Charles was then found killed execution style, his body on a sofa with a pillow over his head and 2 bullet holes in his ear and 1 bullet hole in his leg. His body was discovered by investigators on June 18th, the same day of Stack Bundles' funeral. Other suspects included were Lee Woods, Robert Ellis, and Dexter Bostic. The 3 were arrested for the shooting of 2 NYPD officers, where one of the officers died from the gunshot wounds. It was later discovered that a .45 caliber found was linked to Dexter Bostic, and investigators believe he used the gun to shoot one of the officers. The .45 was purchased in Virginia, and authorities believe the suspects were tied to Stack Bundles' murder. In a jailhouse confession, an inmate housed with Lee Woods claimed Lee Woods bragged about killing Stack Bundles. Another rumor circulates stating that Stack Bundles saving boxer Zab Judah from a robbery plot that night at the Stereo nightclub in Manhattan. The robbers were upset that Stack Bundles warned Zab and that Zab was able to escape, and the robbers were now seeking revenge on Stack Bundles and decided to rob him. Another rumor is Stack Bundles had a serious beef in Far Rock. It was reported that his car was vandalized, and there were talks about people just being jealous of his success. Lee Woods was eventually sentenced to life in prison, plus 40 years. He was never charged with Stack Bundles' murder, and Stack's murder case remains unsolved. The Crime Street Journal tried to obtain records through FOIL, but the NYPD denied our request, stating it would interfere with law enforcement investigations or judicial proceedings. Stack Bundles' memory lives on with the annual Stack Bundles Day held in Red Fern Projects, along with an annual Stack Bundles Stop the Violence basketball tournament. These events have become staples in the Far Rock community, giving back to the youth. Though short, Stack Bundles' impact was legendary not only in Far Rock, but all over the globe to his fans. To see more cakes, the ROCKSTAR, the 2 Kid, Pyrex Stack, the Weatherman, Stack Bundles, Raekwon Elliott, Riot in Peace.
What up?